Today we're going to review factor rules. These are sometimes called divisibility rules, but because we're working with factors and multiples, we want to look at what rules control which factors will work for each number. Let's start with a review of our factor rules. The factor of 1 is for all positive integers. In this case, I'm going to call that all numbers. The factor 2 is for even numbers. For 3, it's for digits. Oops, I spelled that wrong. That add up to a number that you can divide by 3. We'll look at that on the next page. 4, we're not going to go over right now. You'll do that in 5th grade. 5, numbers that end in 0 or 5. 6 is an easy one because if you can divide the number by 2 and 3, then 6 is a factor. That makes sense because 2 times 3 is 6. So if you can divide by 2 and 3, it is a factor. 7 you'll do in 5th grade. 8 in 5th grade, we're going to skip those. 9, if you can add the digits and divide it by 9, then 9 is a factor. And 10, the number must end, sorry about being so sloppy, in a 0. I went very quickly through those rules because we did them in class, and you should have them in your notes written out in whole sentences, or at least with more explanation. So let's look at the first number today we're going to look at, and that's 24. I'm going to make my list of factors going down on the left, 1 through 10, and we're going to eliminate or define which ones are factors. Let's look at the first one. 1, it is a factor of all numbers, and I know that 1 times the number is always the product, so 1 and 24 would be factors of 24. 2, yes, it is even, and because it is even, I know that 2 is a factor, and I know from my math facts that it's 2 and 12. 3, I'm going to add 2 plus 4 and get 6. 6 can be divided by 3, so 24 is a factor. I also know from my math facts that it's 3 times 8. So far I have 24, 12, and 8. 4 I'm going to skip and come back to. 5 I know is not a factor because it does not end in 0 or 5. 6, I'm going to look at 2 and 3. They are both factors, so 6 is a factor. And in parentheses, I'll put 2 and 3. So yes, I know from math facts that it's 6 times 4. And if 4 is a factor here, then 6 is a factor here. That's why we went backwards. 7 is not a factor. I would just go through my math facts for that. 7 times 3 is 21. And 7 times 4 is 28. So no, that is not a factor at all. 8, I know from 3 up here is a factor, so I will say 8 and 3 go together. 9, well, let's look. 2 plus 4 adds up to 6, and you cannot divide that by 9, so it is not a factor. And 10, it does not end in 0, so 10 is also not a factor. I want you to go back through and look at all your divisibility rules, or we call them today factoring rules. And I want you to determine what the factors are for 40 and for 63. Don't do it just from math facts memorized. I want to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 for both. And I want you to either write a note or explain next to each one why it is or is not a factor. For instance, on number 1, it's a 1 is for all numbers. So yes, that is it, but I want you to write that so I know you know it. And go all the way down with this list the same way for both 40 and for 63. Starting at 1, going all the way down to 10. So I'll check that tomorrow for homework. As a review, I want all the factors for 40, all for 63, but I want them on a T-chart just like I showed you with reasons why they are or are not factors. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.